just too broke. Fill it back up, so we left your truck on the road with Rome. Then we found a motel with a cigarette smell, so we knew we're close. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. Is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road. But don't get left behind on the road. Don't get left behind on the road. Don't get left behind on the road. We play Tupac, Shellac, and we turn the music up when he raps about hope. We hold our thumbs high and hope someone is kind enough to give us all a ride. And we wouldn't have a clue if we'd make it back to or even where we'd go. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. A Ford stopped on the street, said where you trying to be. We said we don't really care, we'll know it when we're there. We took on down the road, he flipped on his radio. Santeria started slow, so we knew that we were close. Home is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road. 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 Home is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road.
Hello, excuse me. Let's try this again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa, and accompanying me today is my co-host Jacob Young. Jacob, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Looking forward to talking about these Toros, man. It was a solid game from them last Saturday. Yes, they are still winless, but hey, a lot to talk about just from that game as well. Looking forward to this tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to give a huge shout out to right now, quickly before we start, to the guys that are in chat. We got Blues fan Santos. Blues fan says his heart is broken. He went for planning days off for the Gold Cup game in Houston to not being able to go because the days were taken. And Johnny, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your support for Down in the Valley. Thank you all for all of those 5 people that are watching right now. Just quick reminder that today you guys can win 2 tickets, a pair of tickets to this Saturday's match at home against Oklahoma City Energy. So let me know. Hashtag Down in the Valley takes me to the park, or DITV, hashtag DITV takes me to the park. If you guys want to win the tickets, that way I can let you know how you can win these tickets to this Saturday's match against Oklahoma City Energy. So before we start, I want to go ahead and thank you all for your support. I want to thank our friends at the Beautiful Game Network for their support for this podcast, being able to host the audio podcast version in Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts as well. We really can't do it without them. Also, be sure to check out our podcast in Spotify as well as in SoundCloud. And, you have the YouTube video. I was about to say arcade. No, archive. So the YouTube video archive. So check that out. Be sure, guys, we really, really would appreciate if you guys would help us out in listening through those podcasting platforms. It really helps us a lot when it comes to sponsorship and things like that. We're just going to say, we just received we just received word that the Beautiful Game Network does have some sort of sponsorship deal that will be allocated on a listener's basis. So the more people listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, the more funds we can receive by the Beautiful Game Network to help us out with continuing this project of covering RGVFC. We do also have the donating link at the bottom, so you guys would like to donate, you're more than welcome to. This isn't something that is mandatory. This is no subscription at all. It's just something, if you guys would like to help us financial wise, that is available for you all as well. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media that are down there. You can follow us at facebook.com/slash down in the RGV, as well as on Twitter at down in the RGV for English and DITV podcast _ES for Spanish, and on Instagram, down in the RGV. You can also follow our personal accounts. Mine is Ochoa _8.
Jacob Young 456.
So we like to talk about the Toros. You guys, on our personal accounts, you guys get an unfiltered sense of what we think about, especially at the games, or kind of reactions to the games. So it's fun. You guys get some sort of contact on both of us. You guys get to know us more. We get to know you all more as well. And I think this is something that we want to do with Down in the Valley. Not only do we want to inform you guys about what happens with RGVFC, but also we want to create a community. We want to create a family between RGVFC fans, because I think this is what we need. I feel like every one of the RGVFC fans are they're all doing their own thing, and you got the Stampede, and then you got your regular fans, and there hasn't been. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I know Johnny, you're here, but correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't really seen a lot of interaction between regular fans and Stampede, and by that I mean that the casual fans, the regular fans, reach out to Stampede, because I know you guys have been trying to reach out to them, but I haven't seen them reach out to you. Correct, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong in that aspect. So be sure to give a like in the stream. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and be sure to share it with all of your friends, with all of your family. We're here to create a big old Toros family, and of course inform you of everything that's been happening, and of course all of our hot takes about this team. And if you guys want to give your hot take, we do have the phone line is open at 956-622-5977. In fact, if you guys want to if you guys want to win those tickets, you gotta have a hot take live on the air. You want to win those tickets, call us, give your hot take or your opinion on the air, and that's how you'll win a pair of tickets to the Toros match. I have 2 pairs of tickets available to give out for this Saturday's match. If you guys want to win them, call us, give us your opinion on this team, Give us let us kind of chat with you. Let us chat with you, and you'll be able to win those tickets for the Saturday's match. What do you think, Jacob? You think that's a good plan?
That's the best plan I've heard for sure. Yes, that is the way to do it, for just to give away tickets, make them have a hot take on live air so that we can interact with them. That's one thing that we love, is to get an interaction going with you all. But of course, half the time that doesn't necessarily happen. We did have a caller on last week, and that was a pretty fun conversation to have. So, yeah.
It was, not only was it fun, but it was also eye-opening. Yeah, I mean, just to see, you get the unfiltered feedback from the fans, and I think a lot of people kind of understood at what point we are at when it comes to fandoms. Now, granted, yesterday's episode of Gen Orange, it was pretty interesting because Santos was there in the chat, and you could imagine how Sean kind of ripped him a new one. But and it was we were talking about RGV. So if you so after this stream, if you guys want to know Sean's thoughts on this whole ordeal, check out the first hour of Generation Orange. It was interesting. And one of the points that was brought up, and I'll go ahead and bring it up right now, and that is the question: what is a supporter? I think everybody has their own sense, their own definition of what a supporter is. So, Jacob, to you, what does being a supporter mean?
Well, that's kind of simple for me, due to the fact that I've been.
We actually have a call on right now. Sorry about that, Jacob. All right, go ahead.
Question. What? Hello?
Welcome to Down in the Valley. I was about to say Generation Orange again. Welcome to Down in the Valley. Who are we speaking with?
So this is Bobby. I'm the VP of the Stampede.
What's going on, Bobby?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
We're doing pretty good, actually. How about you? Jacob, can you hear him?
I'm doing all right. I'm cooking dinner, but thought I'd call in and it's not a hot take, but I just wanted to invite the listening public out there that the Stampede invites everybody. Everyone's welcome to our tailgate. They're from 5 to 7 in the northeast corner of the HB parking lot.
Sure. What time are you guys starting the tailgate?
So tailgates normally begin at 5. They run from 5 to 7. Then at 7, we march into the stadium, into our location behind the goal, and then the fun begins. So again, we'd like to invite everybody. Everyone is welcome. You don't have to be a member. There's no obligation to become a member. Just come, hang out, have fun, and cheer on for your favorite team.
Hopefully it's
Toros.
The Toros.
Yeah.
So I was about to say.
But you know what? We have had people who come in from out of town who are visiting fans from the other team, and they've hung out at our tailgate. We welcome them in. We show them a good time, and who knows who might show up.
Definitely, and I know it's usually a lot of fun for when I would be with you guys. I know you guys usually do your own cook off. You guys have your own beer, because I believe you guys are sponsored by LNF, correct?
Correct. They do sponsor us, and as far as the sponsorship, it's you become a member, a paid member. You get a wristband, which then allows you to get beer inside of the stadium, courtesy of LNF distributors.
So, guys, there's a perk right there. If you guys love the Toros, if you guys would like to do something above and beyond being in the stands, they're chanting and supporting this team. You might want to hang out with the Stampede, get to know them more. Check it out, and maybe you guys would be convinced to become part of the Stampede. Trust me, I did this before I came to Houston, It was actually one of the greatest times I've ever had at the games. And as you can see, we still talk to each other. We still help each other out as much as we can. So these are a really great group of guys that are out there every match just supporting the Toros. So go out there, get to know them more, get to know them personally, and I can assure you guys, it's a lot of fun. Jacob, you were with them too as well.
Yeah, I was, and yeah, it was a blast. It was the best times that I'd had as just a fan. Of course, not including the times that I got to go to College Station, Texas, because that was a different experience. But yeah, for sure, for a local team like this, you get to support your team a bit extra, and it's basically a party behind the goal. It's always fun, always a good time, even before the games with the cookout and walking into the stadium. You couldn't ask for a better time down in South Texas.
So, Bobby, now that you called, and we were actually just going to start discussing it. So, you're part of the Stampede, correct? And so my question is, the question of the day is, what do you believe does being a supporter mean?
Supporter, well, I mean, on top of just supporting local, right? Always, my motto is support local, no matter what it is, but definitely support your local football club. It starts at home. And beyond that, it's about having a good time. It's about, especially if you have families, bringing out the whole family to enjoy the sport. It's about friendship, especially if you're a member of the Stampede and you hang out. You make so many new contacts, new friends, people that you can rely on. It's all of those things wrapped up into a nice little package. And yeah, I mean, we are lucky to have a USL championship team here in the Valley with a beautiful, beautiful stadium. And so, yeah, for me, that's all of that. It's all of that.
I can definitely agree. I think one of the things that a lot of people kind of forget about what a supporter means is how active you are outside of the stadium. Because a lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I mean, yes, you have the fans who they come out at every game, or they come out to every other game, or maybe just they come out to the big games. If you're a member of the Stampede, you're there every home game, or at least you try to be, right? Away games when possible, and not just that, but during the week we're talking, we're planning. It's a constant thing. It's not just one day out of the week, but it definitely takes up some time out of your week. But it's fun. We love it, and that's why we do it.
Definitely. And so Bobby, it's 5 games into the week. Give us your opinion on what you've seen of this team so far.
Well, so far it's been a slow start. I mean, that might be an understatement, but it's been a slow start. I have confidence though that hopefully these next 2 home games we can pick up some points, some very crucial points at home. It's early days. I don't want to rush to judgment just quite yet. There's some things that can be tweaked, definitely. And, as we move on further on in the season, then we can start to evaluate if things still don't continue to improve, then there's definitely things that we should be looking at to try to maybe change and so we can improve, right? Because, I mean, the point besides having fun is we want to win. We want to win, and we want to get to the playoffs. And ultimately, in the end, we want to be holding that trophy. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that.
Jacob?
Yeah, I guess for answering that question, I kind of do agree with Bobby, but for me, it's 5 games into the season. It's been an interesting turn of events for sure. And so far, of course, why do you have this team? And I'm going to sound like a Dynamo supporter saying this, but this is why this team was here. It's for these teams to really grow together, basically. And yes, you want to see those results as a Houston Dynamo fan too. You want to see those results of this team continuing to build, this team continuing to show that, oh, we can score goals. We don't get nervous when we're right in front of an open net and send it over the wall. Hence, a lot of players that have done that this season. But yeah, you want to see this team continue to grow, and if there's not a lot of success through the end of the season, then there's a problem for sure, because this team is more than capable of winning. It's 5 games into the season. We have had a couple of players that we've learned that will most likely be out for the whole season, but we might get another player back soon too. So that's an exciting little moment into that, and he's part of the defense, which in my opinion the defense has been almost just, they've been the wall that they have been, and they've been building on this sort of run, I guess, if I should say, because yes, we only have 2 points if I'm not mistaken in the season, but that last game at home looked like the best, and I think they're growing. And yeah, don't rush to judgment just yet, but at the same exact time, if you want to look at an individual player, you can look at those individual players and say, oh, this guy could be ready for Houston Dynamo, and that's what Houston Dynamo really want. Yes, they're a farm team in the long run, but at the same time, you want to win. You want to pick up that trophy. You want to go to the playoffs at the end of the season and win a trophy. So that's what I've got to say on that.
Bobby, you still there?
I'm still here, man.
All right, excellent. So, man, it's just tough to look at this and just see we're literally, like, this is officially the worst start for RGV. And yet I feel like there's still a lot of things that are positive. I don't know about you, Bobby. To me, it's like we're playing a little bit better than what our record says we are.
No, definitely. And maybe I'm the eternal optimist, because I just, I always think it's the next game. It's going to be the next game, for sure, the next game. And I'm just hopeful. But what I do want to say is I'm going to have to leave because I'm in the middle of cooking dinner and I don't want it to burn. But I do want to say one last thing before I go. Copa Tejas. We've got a tie so far, and I deep down, I know that it's going to be a tough one, but I foresee the Copa Tejas, us holding it up and being victorious at the end, because we're going to paint Texas orange.
All right.
And that's all I got to say about that. We're coming for y'all.
Yeah, that's the spirit, Bobby. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for calling us. And once again, don't forget, guys, this Saturday from 5 to 7, go to the Stampede tailgate and go ahead and go and meet them and go check what being a part of the Stampede is all about. Once again, man, thank you so much for calling, and have a good night, Bobby.
All right, I'll see y'all
All right,
later.
Take care, man. All right, guys. So that was Bobby, who's the VP of the Stampede, and we actually have the president on in the chat. So you guys have any questions for them about what being a member of Stampede? Don't hesitate to ask Johnny. Yes, Johnny, I'm putting you on the spot in that regard. So quick before we go back to Jacob, let's go back to the chat. Johnny says, hot take: Austin Bold has a farm animal fetish. Okay. Anyways, Blues fan says that his tocayo is still wrong, by the way, from what he was saying yesterday, Santos. And then, yeah, Johnny, I miss playing the trombone too sometimes. And Johnny also says, plus we have been playing really good teams. So, Jacob, going back to the question, to you, what does being a supporter mean?
Well, I mean, I feel like this is kind of an easy question for me, but yeah, being a supporter is, well, you don't take anything for granted when you're a fan. Basically, when you're having good times, you know that bad times can come in a heartbeat. And when that happens, that is the true testament of being a fan. When your team is struggling, you don't just walk out of that stadium and say, I'm never rooting for this team again. No, you stick with them through the thick and thin. You stick with them through the good times and especially the bad times, because that's when you know that you're a true fan. I mean, look at teams like, I guess, the best example right now is Sunderland. Their fans stuck with them through, especially the diehards, stuck with them through thick and thin, where they got relegated 2 straight years in a row to League One. Yet they're most likely going to come back and actually win League One, if I'm not mistaken, and move on back to the Championship and move probably back up to the Premier League not long from now, too. Same with Fulham, Norwich, all those teams. And, of course, moving even further past that, it's also the same with, I mean, I'm a racing fan too, and especially this is big in NASCAR because there's so many series in that same way.
What's up?
Hey, welcome to Down in the Valley. Who are we speaking with?
Santos.
Hey, what's going on, Santos?
Nothing, bro. Just started listening. What's going on?
Yeah, we're pretty much going over the question that has pretty much been the question of the week, man.
Man, what is it?
The question was kind of brought up yesterday, and that is, what is a supporter to you? So to you, I asked the same question to you. What does a supporter mean to you?
Okay, to me, just because to me, it's not right for everybody. Okay, this is me as a supporter.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You go for a team that you like, and you cheer for them win or lose. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a realistic person, that's my thing. It's not like, let's say I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm not like every year, like, Super Bowl bound, Super Bowl bound. No. Put brakes on that shit immediately. You know? Okay, we know we suck. But we're still going to cheer for them, or you still, if they suck, fuck them. You know, but you're still there. Do you get me? You get my supporter view?
So, I pretty much being like a realist of what's really happening, like analyzing and seeing like, okay, we're not gonna.
No. As a result, let's say I have a job.
Okay.
I don't perform good in my job. I get fired. Easy. 1 + 1 = 2. It's not like he's a good guy. Oh, he did good last year. No, I didn't meet my quota this month. I'm not good anymore. I gotta maintain what I was doing good.
I kind of see what you mean with that. And Jacob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, you got to stick with the team through thick and thin. As in, if win or lose, you will still be a fan at the end of the day.
Like, just because they say they're your kids doesn't mean they're not stupid or they're not ugly. A lot of people, they say on that fucking make-believe story, like, oh, my kids are so beautiful. And then you see their picture, like, the fuck are you looking at?
No, I get you. Like, you're trying to be like a realist in regards to
a realistic person. It's not like just because I love the Toros doesn't mean they're gonna win championships. You know what I mean? Like call a strike or foul. You use that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand what you're trying to say in regards to that, Johnny. What are you laughing about? I I understand like obviously yes, like teams aren't gonna be good all the time. Teams are gonna be bad all the time, and we're not. And I'm personally not saying to fans, oh, in order to be a supporter, you have to see everything positive. You can't point out the negatives of the team. I think I think that's the dumbest idea ever, and that's just being un pasalon, like they say in Spanish. You know, obviously you're gonna voice your opinion. You're not gonna be a pushover in regards to, oh, if they're not putting in all their effort, where it's obvious they're not putting all their efforts, then yeah, you're gonna criticize them. But I just feel like with these guys, like I feel like they've put in their all. It's just those strikers that just can't put it in on goal, and I think they're very well aware of it. I just need to see some of that action that proves that they know what's going on and see it where it matters most, and that is on the pitch. Because yes, we've been told by Rey, who goes to practices, they have been working on finishing. But what's the point of practicing? And I think I mentioned it during the day. Somebody had tweeted at me. What's the point of practicing all of this and finishing when where it matters the most, you're not doing what you should in order to win?
That was the sound of me taking a drink of a badass Estella on a poolside over here in the Laredo.
All right.
So, yeah, I'm out here at work listening to you guys. But the point is, and once again, that was all nice and shit, but you know what I mean? It's black and white. Win or lose. That's it. That's it. It's for, well, at least for, like, real life scenarios. You're either winning in life or you're not winning.
I get you. Jacob?
Yeah. I mean, especially for this year, and we'll go back to it too. I kind of even pointed at that with Bobby, but this team, yes, they're super young once again, and they've started off sloppy. They've started off the worst they can possibly basically start. Well, actually, the worst they could start off is 0 points still being into April, considering, or close to the end of April to be exact, considering that this season started at early March. So, I mean, yeah, this team still has a lot of building to do, and we'll figure out what this team is made of in May, really. If that team is still struggling in May, yes, there is a problem, but it's more along the lines of most likely the players. Guess what? We last week had a striker that wasn't cutting it at all, and Edson Ochoa decided, I'm going to bench him. Not only bench him, actually, I'm going to send him to the stand, send him to the locker room where he's not going to suit up at all for this game. Sure enough, he does exactly that. And we almost score 5 straight goals, except a couple of them weren't necessarily on target. And yes, once again, the shot chart's going to be a bit off, as well as how much we were able to necessarily go at New Mexico there. So there's stuff to grow on, but it looks more positive than it did before. So yeah, win or lose, whatever. But in the long run, are these players going to be ready for the MLS? Once again, that's what this team is here for, and that's what this team is here to stay. That's going to be the way that this team goes. I think it is one exception from 2016. There's stuff to grow on, but it looks more positive than it did before. So, yeah, win or lose, whatever. But in the long run, these players are going to be ready for the MLS. Once again, that's what this team is here for, and that's what this team is here to stay. That's going to be the way that this team goes. I think it is one exception from 2016.
That feedback, though.
There's stuff to grow on, but it looks more.
Yeah, I'm just There's a delay on the YouTube. There's a delay. What I'm hearing it kind of broken up over here,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like a 5 second delay kind of. I could hear it broken up,
Mm-hmm.
but I could see the video 5 seconds and hear perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm alive. Yeah, but exactly what Johnny put there on the chat. Look, I'm gonna call them out when they're sucking. Of course, dude. Trust me. I'm over there with instruments. I'm over there cooking out. I'm over there taking flags, carrying shit, doing as much as I can for the photo, so people could like it, people join, people keep on going and partying.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't gotta prove nobody I'm a supporter. You know what I'm saying? If you know me and you see me at the game, you know I support my guys, but I'm not gonna be one of those. Like I said earlier, like your kid's ugly and you still put, oh look, the cutest baby in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I'm more of a real shot caller type of guy, not really like I don't know what to call it. I have to say so many acronyms or words, but I'm not gonna see something that's not.
Mm-hmm. No, you're a realist. Like you're a realist. Like you don't see any the team with rosy colored glasses or anything like that, and which we understand.
And not just that, bro. It's got to be with everything. With if you like, you don't want to be disappointed in life. You really got to see everything how it is, not like storybook stuff. Like, man, I guess that's the way I live happy, and it's been working out so far. So why change for people, you know?
No, I get you. What change? What isn't broken? What fix? What isn't broken? Yeah,
Yeah, dude, and trust me, like you could ask my fellow Stampede members if I supported their team. Like you don't say you're one, you just fucking do it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck San Antonio. My friend was gonna say that, but he said he was. I just did.
No, I get you, and I really appreciate for you taking the time to call, taking the time to explain and give us your opinion on this subject, because, like I said, it's been a hot topic in this last couple of days, not only on the show, but also on Twitter. So, and I think we need to understand as a fan base that everybody's got a different opinion on what being a supporter is. But if you look at everything, the common thing that unites us all is that we love this team, that we love the Toros, and nobody's gonna take that away. But we also, and because we love the Toros, like we are participating and not taking for granted, this team that we care about this team, and hopefully front office understands this, and they'll continue to do their best to make this better. And obviously the biggest issue and the biggest thing out of all of this is hopefully the Houston Dynamo sees this, is that this is not just another farm team. This isn't not just another MLS2 team. This is a team with its own identity, with its own culture, with its own fans that they need to cater to and balance their, I guess you can say, they have to balance their need to develop players as well as what we want as a fan base, and that is a team that can fight for the championship. I really, personally, I don't think neither one of those things is mutually exclusive from the other.
The realistic deal for me is the real shot we got is a Texas Cup, Copa Teja.
Mm-hmm.
That's if we're gonna win something, that's gonna be it. Because maybe playoffs, hey, long shot, long season still.
Mm-hmm.
But championship, the way during the pregame in the stands was Adams and two other guys. I forgot, and I was like, "Hey, what's up with your ankle? Got an injury or something?" Like, "No, I went to Dynamo." I was like, "Oh, then your ankles look bad. I thought you were sick." "No, that's how they are." I was like, "Oh shit, my bad, dog." And I thought he was still playing, but I guess he went to Dynamo. And then he's like, he's the guy who scored the goal of the week, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. I was like, oh, really?
Oh,
Let me get
Romilio.
this shut up, please. They're not recognizable, bro. Like, it's hard to like the team when you don't recognize any player when they switch from week to week.
And
you think Adams would stay because he's the captain?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, and that's another thing that we've brought up, is that this team, with how the Dynamo controls this team and the technical aspect of that, outside of your Chuy Enriquez, who pretty much is a lot more, I don't want to say extravagant, but he's more outgoing in reaching out with fans. Like, people identify him really, really quick. But others, it's a harder time for you.
Okay,
to know
another
who they
person
are.
I identify that I don't know his name is that kid from Brownsville that won the state championship. I forgot his name, but I recognize him. If I see him in the store, I recognize him.
Yeah, and I think that's that I think right there is something that FO should do, and I think they're taking the steps to do it. I just saw on Facebook that they're doing this whole Meet the Toros thing where they'll post a kind of like a small little summary of their biography. Like, I know today they did Nico Corti, and so I think if they continue to do that, I think fans will identify our players a lot.
But Corti hasn't played in about 3 weeks.
No, I get you. I think he's only played once.
And he played half.
I think he only played once this season, and that was against Fresno.
Yeah. So why are they featuring him? He's not even on the field. See, that's kind of like a shoot yourself in the foot kind of.
Well, if I step in here real quick, Santos, the reason why is because he's the Toros' main goalkeeper. The only reason why he hasn't played in a while is because the Houston Dynamo, the owner of this team, decides to send down other players, including a goalkeeper named Tyler Derrick. And so Tyler Derrick's been getting more reps than Nico Corti has during a game. So that's the reason why Nico Corti hasn't necessarily been playing, per se, at least yet. But he should be able to start playing soon. It's all up to the Dynamo when they do that. They bring down the players and they pick, and coach is forced to start them.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, well, that's what we're not should have put the new goalie instead of Corti. Now we know who the guy who's actually on the field is. Like, really, like if you're going to a family picnic and instead of introducing your current couple, you're like, oh, look, this is my ex-boyfriend. But this is the guy I'm here with today. It's sort of like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the things, like I said, where the Dynamo needs to understand the needs of us as a fan base as well, and that can only happen if more fans are vocal about it on social media. On the platforms, and we continue need to have to pressure local media to cover this team more, not only in the like at the news at 10 or the news at 5, but going out to the games and actually asking coach these questions after the game.
Yeah, no, that's all. Yeah. All right. Okay, yeah, no, because I'm a co-worker from you. We're about to head out like America. And we're trying to make plans. Apologize for interrupting your show.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else you want to talk about? You want to tell us before you go?
No, man, I'll let you guys keep on doing the program, man, because I know you guys have a list I want to talk about and stuff, and I don't know about like half an hour. So.
All right, Santos. Well, thank you so much for calling again this week. Really appreciate all of your input, and hopefully we have a good show for you tonight, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Well, hey, Jacob, I saw you yesterday a bunch of complaining or screaming at the red light. That's pretty cool. Sitting at like 4 rows in.
Wait, oh, you're talking to me? You saw me at the game?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, and I was watching it on ESPNU, and you came out a bunch with your hands raising your hands, talking shit.
Oh, and the Vipers?
And I was at a friend's house playing poker, and I was like, hey, that's the guy from the Toros too, right? He's like, yeah, that's him. So yeah, he came out a bunch.
You're famous now, Jacob.
Apparently I am. Hey, feels good.
Representing the Dynamo.
Yeah. Representing Dynamo, representing
later.
Toros.
All right.
All right, man. Take care and have a good night.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Well, guys, I think it's a very, very interesting discussion about all of this. I think people like I wanted to get into. I think people need to go above and beyond just going to the game. You know, I think we're past that stage. Because we already know who those 3,500 fans that are going to be there week in and week out. Now it's time, and now we need those 3,500 fans or whatever the average is. We need them to be more active in social media. We need them to be more active with local media, letting them know, hey, we're interested. We are fans of the Toros. We are really interested in getting coverage from you guys about the team. We're willing to read your articles. You're really willing to watch your videos, your news reports when you talk about the Toros. Because right now, there's nobody. Telemundo didn't come back.
Yeah, Telemundo didn't come back. The new Channel 5 man that I ended up seeing last night at the Vipers game has not come back since, I believe, maybe the preseason game too. So, yeah, a lot of them haven't come back because, well, the Toros haven't necessarily shown results. And, well, once again, like he said, we're not active. They're not the fans that are already there aren't active enough to say, oh, let me sit down, watch this clip from them talking about the Toros, watch or read some article of them talking about the Toros as well. So, yeah, for a news station, it's all about views. But at the same time, when you want those views, you also need those results. And you need the people to really rally behind them and say, hey, look, you're not doing a great enough job at this stage of covering this team. So, yeah, those 3,500/4,000 plus fans need to do, and including myself too, I think I also need to do a better job of just saying, hey, look, let's cover this team a bit more, maybe Channel 5 at them on Twitter, something very basic like that. As long as you don't attack their family or do something stupid, yes, it should be fine.
Welcome to Down in the Valley. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, this is Johnny, president of Stampede.
Johnny, what's up, Johnny?
Nothing, just started listening to your show. It's a very interesting show today.
Thank you, man. You know what's interesting, Jacob, is that all of the calls have been Stampede members. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
So Jay,
on that,
go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
So Johnny, like we've heard from Santos, we've heard from Bobby, but we want to hear your thoughts. What does being a supporter mean?
Being a supporter, at least to me, is pretty much rooting for your team, like you said, through the good times and the bad times. Being there, taking time out of your busy schedule to come up with plans for things to attract more people to come to the game, like start sharing their stuff on social media and just screaming your lungs out during the game. But you also, like you said earlier, like Santos said earlier, but you can't look at it just through rose-colored glasses. Like when a team deserves that criticism, you should be able to criticize that team and not just either like following them like through the worst parts and just saying, okay, everything's okay, like it's a dumpster fire, but we're still great, and you just got to criticize them also, but not to the point where it's going to become something like terrible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's, I think, what a supporter is. Like missing stuff just to go cheer for your team and all that stuff, all the good stuff.
Not definitely. Like I said, I think it's been a consistent so far. It's been a consistent definition from all three callers, and I think from our point of views as well, it's been that definition of yes, you love him through the good and the bad, but just because you support him through the bad doesn't mean like, hey, you guys are doing this thing wrong. It's like I posted on.
Yeah, we're gonna call him out.
Yeah, and there's ways to call them out because, like, I think it's more along the lines, like, for example, like, let me think of something of a good scenario, but it's more along the lines like of not taking it to the extreme of, finding like consistently like just bad, like going to to certain players' Twitter and like, oh, you suck, like you don't belong here, yada yada
Like,
yada,
yeah.
kind of thing, where you're just spamming him. Like, no, that's not. I don't think that's
like you're pretty much trolling them worse than like your rivals, you know?
Yeah. And I think all of that just adds to the toxicity. And we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want these players to be comfortable, but not too comfortable where they're going to slack off, but comfortable enough where, like, they understand, like, hey, I'm not just playing for myself. I'm not just playing for my career. I'm playing for these fans that are coming to the stadium, taking time out of their lives and money as well, and watching me play.
It's like we're a family. And like, say like your little brother, your little sister, you support them 100% through thick and thin, through everything. But if they mess up, you're going to call them out and tell them, you know what, like this, we love you and stuff, but this is what's wrong with you guys or whatever.
Exactly.
That's kind of like how it is. And like there's, I won't mention names, but there have been fans in the past, like from like ex-Stampede members that would literally go to, like they would get so upset that the Toros were doing bad that they would literally go up to the box office and harass the people there. Mm-hmm. And like that's stuff that's like really toxic that you shouldn't do. That's like the totally wrong way to support a team, you know?
No, definitely, I agree. Jacob?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree of what Johnny's saying. And another good example of it is for just like not just being toxic and all that, but so in journalism you learn that when you're writing like an opinion piece, of course you can or not necessarily list, but you can tell the people this is what's going on, this is what's wrong with the team, but in the end you're supposed to basically say here's a way that they can improve in this sort of thing, and then boom, it becomes an even piece. And so, yes, something like that has to necessarily be done. And another thing, last year's team, when Edson and I, and even Rey and I would interview them after the game, there was even when they'd lose, there was something where they knew what they did wrong. And then they even said, basically, yeah, this is what I need to improve on, even when we interviewed them a couple of times on down in the valley. So I think this year's team is lacking just a bit of that due to the fact, yeah, they figured out what they've done wrong, but some of them have actually made that mistake twice. And so, like, letting someone run right by them and them having to make a bad challenge close to the box or something like that. So, yeah, there's still a lot of stuff for them to learn from, but like I said, I think this team is just lacking that sort of self-evaluation in a way.
Yeah, and like this team is like you can sense they're like on the cusp of breaking out. If they were just to clean up some of their stuff, they would be one of the top teams in the league. Mm-hmm. They're not like someone like say San Antonio that like their defense is horrendous and all this stuff. They're just like kind of pathetic. Not to be mean or anything, but these guys, they have a team to actually make a run for the playoffs and for the cup. They just need to concentrate more. Like they got all the pieces on the team to actually make a run for it. So they're just right there. I think they're right on the cusp of breaking out, in my opinion.
Yeah, because they haven't been bad defensively. I think the biggest issues defensively, and I've mentioned it on Twitter before, have been the lack of consistency because of the Dynamo loanees. The fact is, against El Paso, you had Alejandro Fuenmayor and Kyle Adams at center back, who've never played with each other, so the chemistry was there. And a lot of the times, the chemistry between two center backs is highly important for the organization of the defense. And you saw it in the first half, especially in the first goal, how unorganized the defense was because Kyle Adams did not know how Alejandro Fuenmayor played. And if you notice this game against New Mexico, your two center backs were Houston Dynamo center backs, Kevin Garcia and Alejandro Fuenmayor. And you the organization was much better than against El Paso. Against Tulsa, it was just a mistake by by Andrew Samuels to foul Altamirano in the box. So penalty that Michael Nelson was able to identify where it was going, but just wasn't able to get it because it was just well shot. And an authentic golazo by Tulsa for the 2-1. So they haven't really been bad defensively. I guess the only one that was like, was where we're like, what is going on with this defense? Was against Fresno. But other than that, they've looked decent, especially with Coronado. When Robert Coronado is on, oh my God, that player, like Carson said, and we said it before on the show, Robert Coronado is better than the two Dynamo draft picks, Andrew Samuels and Sam Junqua. Sam Junqua, oh no, like, honestly, like, the guy gets beat and burned every time. And we saw it many times in the New Mexico game where we're wondering, like, what did the Dynamo see in him to pick him? Like, come on.
Yeah, they've made some questionable calls there.
One thing that I want to mention real quick, too, is especially for the New Mexico game, because this was a game where it was a 0-0 draw. Jerson did change up the formation to a 4-2-3-1, where he just had Chuy Enriquez as the lone striker. And so, of course, yes, they didn't get anything on frame, but at the same time, that defense was they basically defended well. And, of course, then it goes back to the shots, and it was in the first half, total shots was 4-10, so that ended up full time being 14 shots, including the blocked ones, and 2 shots on target at the end of the game too. So that's something that, yes, they do need to improve on for sure. But at the same time, you're looking at a great defense, especially if he keeps that 4-2-3-1 up.
I mean, chances are created, but it's just up to the strikers to put it in. And it's like Michael Salazar said, once we put in one, then our confidence will be back. Should be back, and we should be playing better than ever, because the base, the foundation of this team is there. But we gotta get those opportunities, all those opportunities, because not every team is going to get 15 shots or the opportunity to take 15 shots. Such a high shot amount means that the team is able to make it into the opponent's box. The question is, you got to get that accuracy in control. You can't just send all of those shots over to the canal next to HEB Park. That's not going to do any good for you. You need to make like Coach Echeverry says, we need to make the opposing goalkeeper work, and we're not doing that. Johnny?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. The other thing that I was thinking, and I was just wondering if the Dynamo were to put, like, the front office were to put, like, extra more, how do you say it, like, more emphasis on the Toros, on developing those players to make them actually compete for the cup. Could you imagine how good the Dynamo would be if you have all those great players with the Toros going up with the Dynamo? And pretty much, I mean, let's face it, the Dynamo are doing great this year, and they got some Toros playing on there. I mean, now imagine if they put that emphasis on the Toros to get great teams to compete for this cup. how great it would be like to have them with the Dynamo. Like they could probably just seamlessly interchange players like nothing. You know what I mean? But I guess that's on the Dynamo side.
It is on the Dynamo side, but I think I honestly think that Matt Jordan has done a great job with finding talent. I think he's proved with the Dynamo, especially under Wilmer Cabrera, that he's able to find good talent to pretty much undeveloped talent that Coach Cabrera was able to polish. Just take a look at Elise. Just take a look at Kyoto. Take a look at Morrow. Like, these are no-name players that young, like really young. And he's able to make them like what they are right now. So Matt Jordan does know how to identify talent. The question here is that, like Sean said yesterday, you're putting Coach Echeverry in a dilemma, because not only does he have to develop these players for the Dynamo, which tends to be a long-term process, with the short-term process of we have to win this championship. So which one is going to have a higher priority? Well, what Daddy says, which is develop. But the question is, the fans, we want a championship. So he's in the middle of these two things, and he doesn't know like what we need to do. And the question is, until this year, the Dynamo only gave us young talent that he had to develop. Now, with this team, we have Carlos Small, we have Michael Salazar, we have Malik Foster. Chuy Enriquez has matured a lot more, as well as Kyle Adams and Connor Donovan. So you got players with experience now, and he doesn't have to focus on developing a lot of players. Like he can just focus on certain players like Brad Dunwell, like Camilo Monroy, like Robert Coronado and Adam Samuels to develop them. Now he doesn't have to focus on 11 players to develop. Now he's got to focus, and starting 11, now he's got to focus on maybe like 5 or 6. And I think that all of that can help. But we need to figure out as a team what this team is and what we need to expect out of this team. Hopefully, and it's a long process. It's a long process for this pipeline to work like it should. And I just feel like Houston Dynamo fans are not patient enough with this team, because I'm going to be honest, they don't know anything about the Toros. Why? Because the media here in Houston, besides the occasional mention by Glenn Davis, nobody else talks about the Toros. Nobody knows what happens here.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who's being developed, who's under the watch of the Dynamo. So they come here. So let me put best example I can give you. Kevin Garcia. Kevin Garcia, one of the best center backs the Toros ever had. And and you can at me all you want, anybody on Twitter, and I stand by it. Kevin Garcia was one of the best center backs we had at RGV. He gets sent over to the Houston Dynamo.
True.
First time he plays at the Houston Dynamo, he gets put in at right back, a position he's not comfortable playing. To most, if not almost all of the fans in Houston, their first impression was Kevin Garcia at right back. Kevin Garcia didn't do well at right back. Oh, he must suck. He sucks.
Yeah.
We don't want him. Kevin Garcia sucks. But nobody knows that he played well at center back. So when he was played at center back, a lot of people were surprised. Like, no, we knew that already, because we've seen it play at the Toros. And it just goes back. And it just goes back once again. I don't know if it was by design, because some people mention like, oh well, the affiliate is in RGV by design, because not a lot of people are going to put a focus on that in regards to the Dynamo eyes. But I think it's more along the lines that we know about. Like, we know that the Toros exist. Why doesn't? And here's the thing: if the local media, if ABC 13, if KQ, if whatever, they don't take time off or the initiative to cover the Dynamo, what makes us think that they're going to want to cover their affiliate? And it's up to us. And it's
like
up to
I
us.
saw a
Yeah, go
reporter that used to be here on KGBT. I think his name is Patrick. What's his last name?
Chavire.
That's what the C.
Chavire.
Yes, he's in El Paso now.
Mm-hmm.
He literally goes like once a week to the El Paso practices to interview players and the coach and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does it like once a week, and why can't they do that here? And that's because I plain out asked one of the guys from KGBT, Alex Barrios, I think that's his name.
Alex Del Barrio?
Like yes, him. I tried. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna cover UTRG or whatever." And I tweeted to him, and I hope you're gonna cover the Toros too. And he goes, "Yeah, of course." Not one single thing I've heard of them covering the Toros. Like nobody covers the Toros. Like, what the hell's going on here, man?
I wouldn't necessarily say no one covers them because you still do have the Monitor, the newspaper covering them. Now that's the only necessarily professional, I guess, the professional site that's basically covering them. Yes, I can kind of say that down in the valley is professional too, but we have a long ways to go for extreme coverage where everyone knows our name. So
they should give you a segment on like KRGV or something.
Exactly. If none of those guys are willing to do it, which I wish they were, that's for sure. I wish the numbers were higher, but at the same time, it goes back to just this culture. I mean, Houston Dynamo, for example, and this is a great example considering this year. Yes, they're finally doing well, but it took them a win on the road. Actually, yeah, I'll just call it a win on the road for them to get more credit than they had, as in more coverage. And what I mean by that is they were finally published in the Houston Chronicle, which that's a huge newspaper up there. And before then, I don't believe that they had a ton of coverage from that news site at all.
After Corey was laid off, Corey Ripken was laid off. There was very little coverage. Now I know that the reporter, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but there is always a reporter and he's always there every week. But the actual newspaper doesn't put in a lot of emphasis on his articles covering the Dynamo. And I think it's more, and I don't think it's about results, because I know that there are some teams that are horrible, but they get their decent coverage locally. It's not about results. It's more about ratings. What's going to bring in the money to the newspaper? What's going to bring the money to the TV station, to the TV ratings? If nobody's watching, why are we going to waste money? Why are we going to waste resources to go cover a team that's not going to give us a return? And that's basically what it is.
I didn't want to bring that up, but that's 100% true. And it stinks to say it, but I've heard it with my own ears. I've read it with my own eyes too. Because, I don't necessarily want to bring it up right now, but it was from the Monitor too. And it's just so true, especially even after the main Channel 4 guy left and decided to cover more for the district of McAllen, if I'm not mistaken. Then that went downhill for the Toros as well for the coverage for at least that team. And it does go back to ratings. And of course, well, if you're not necessarily going to have attendance, then you don't necessarily need to be covered. And I 100% understand that too. But in the long run, when that team is successful, I don't know. I don't see those teams getting covered that much, especially given the fact that you've got high school sports, and that's the main number one thing in the Valley, no matter what.
Especially come the fall, high school football.
Yep.
So,
and I want to tweet them like there's more to the Valley than just high school sports. But I guess that's what pays their meals and stuff. I don't know.
And the thing about it is that if only one person does it, like put pressure or tweet him to cover the Toros, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to take multiple people taking the initiative and pressuring the local media to cover this team, that's when they'll realize, hey, there's a market out there for this. Let's go ahead and tap this market. And that's why I keep on saying that in this aspect, it's the fans who need to take the initiative. The team is gonna focus on results, yes, but let's assume that this team is the winningest team in all of USL. But if the fans don't go out there and create this market, this TV market, this audience for the media, I don't care if they're winning, they're not gonna cover them like they should. It's not about results.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all about how the fans participate outside of those 90 minutes at the stadium. Because I see when I go down on RGV, which in the weekend, I go to the mall, sometimes with my mom, or I go out to eat somewhere. I rarely see a person with a Toros shirt. And that's the number.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is the beginning step, repping your team outside of those 90 minutes. That is how you get the team known to those who don't go at the stadium. That is how you get the team known for those who have no idea that this team even exists, because there's people that are still out there that do not know about the Toros, that do not know about HB Park. The media can only do so much, and it's all about the ratings. It's up to us as fans to take that initiative and do the marketing at a grassroots level, because the team is starting to do their marketing, and we complained about marketing for the last couple of years. They listened. They're making changes. But
they're doing a good job.
Oh, they are. Trust me, they are. But the most effective marketing has always been grassroots. Why? Because it's organic and it shows the true passion of the rest of the fans. If people see other people wearing their shirt every weekend outside of the stadium, this guy's really into it. I guess this team really, makes it worthwhile. They have the passion. There's the atmosphere. I'm gonna go check it out. Marketing can only do so much, and obviously they're like, okay, yeah, you say that because you work for them, you're getting paid, yada yada yada. That's your job, to get me into the stadium. But if somebody outside of the organization tells you, hey, dude, come to the stadium, dude, it's awesome, and they're wearing their shirt, it does a better job in convincing people to come and watch the Toros than any kind of marketing from the team will do, because like I said, it's a lot more organic. And I think it's time that we as fans show that commitment one way or another. And I know you guys at the Stampede are doing it, but I know there's a lot of people out there outside of Stampede that love the team, but it's time to take it a little step further if we want to get more people into the stadium, if we want to get more people to pay attention on this team, and in return, or not in return, in a consequence of that, get the media to pay attention to this team like they should. Because yes, guess what? There's coverage with the Vipers, but why? Not only are they successful, but their fans tend to be a bit more passionate about it. And yes, it does help where they're in the finals. But, I mean, I saw a newspaper article in Reynosa about the Vipers. I have yet to see anything on the Toros outside of the Monitor or the occasional mention by Telemundo.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've gone to Walmart with my Stampede shirts on, and people give me like these looks, but it's not looks like if they're freaking out because I have a huge skull with horns on my shirt. It's that they're actually like reading the shirt and they're paying attention to, oh, whoa, wait, what's this from or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here like walking like, yeah, that's me, all right. So I guess that's what more people need to do. Just start wearing your shirts out more, and people noticing and say, hey, well, what is this? What's this RGVFC? Is that thing that park that's there? Like, yeah, like go watch a game, go catch a game.
And it also has to be done in social media as well.
Yeah.
Share articles,
Yeah.
talk about them, but make sure you even if you don't mention the team's accounts directly, but put RGVFC, because if you go on Twitter and you search RGVFC, it's mostly stuff that we post, stuff that the team's account posts, or the USL posts. It's rarely we see something where fans are talking about RGVFC and they say the word the name RGVFC. So there's a lot of things that we can improve as a fans. Like I said, we talk so much about what the team needs to improve, but we also need to talk about what the fans need to improve as well. And we also talked about what front office needed to improve. And they have changed. So they've done their job. It's up to us, and it's up to the team, the technical aspect, to do their jobs as well. When all three of us in this circle of suck do our jobs, do our part in making this team better, we're gonna start seeing a lot more results. Because it's just sad that every week we start seeing less and less people being counted in the official attendance announcement. Johnny, do you have anything else you want to add?
We're gonna have our tailgate like we do before every game. They're like Bobby said in the northeast corner of the parking lot of HEB Park. For this tailgate, we're just gonna keep it simple with pizza because we're kind of preparing for one of our first Copa Tejas Cups. Of course, I'm gonna make my famous brisket. But yeah, come to the tailgate. It's open to everyone. Have fun. You don't have to join or anything. Mm-hmm. Quick hot take for you, Edson.
Okay.
Whoever wins those 2 tickets, I'll give him 2 beer bracelets for the game also.
Oh.
But they have to come get them at the tailgate.
All right. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and do that. So, I'll send you whoever wins them. I'll send you their name, and I'll let them know to go where y'all are at, so they can get their bracelets as well. But I really
sounds good.
Really, Johnny, thank you so much for that. Like I was not expecting that, but that's a really good incentive for fans to go out there and meet you guys. And like I said, we always wish you all the best of success. And just as you guys have helped out. Trying to get down in the valley to grow, we're more than willing to help you guys grow in whatever way we can.
Cool. Sounds good. We're gonna promote the crap out of you guys also. Down in the valley. All right, guys. I'll see you later.
All right. Thank you so much, Johnny, for calling, and have a good night, man.
You too, man. See you later, Jacob.
See ya.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk. What time is it? It's 8:18. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the match against New Mexico. We already talked about the stats. I mean, 14 shots, 2 shots on target. But one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I just keep on repeating myself, but it's just so true. Chuy Enriquez, man. Like, Chuy Enriquez is out there. He's fighting for every ball. Like, you see the passion that he puts in the match. You know, he's even getting to an argument with his own friend and ex-teammate, Manny Padilla, who, by the way, I still stand on it. That needs to be made into a UFC poster, and that's still a better rivalry than Precourt versus Columbus.
Yeah, that's a very bold statement for sure. But even after the game, there's a great picture of him and Manny Padilla right after the game talking, and they weren't smiling necessarily.
No.
So yeah. and Chewy did reference it, if I'm not mistaken, on his Instagram
And Manny Padilla
page.
did as well.
So, yeah, it's something to for sure take a look at because, well, there might be something when we head to New Mexico United, whether it's the end of this year or start of next year, whenever we play them once again, because it's going to be something interesting for sure. And, yeah, quick little hot take on Manny Padilla. I think it was his decision to leave the club of the Toros, and that's why he's sitting – that's why he was on the opposite side of the pitch this time instead of wearing orange.
Nah, I mean, at the end it was all on him. You know, he took the decision that rather than wait for his chance, you know, to go look for greener pastures, and it takes courage to make a decision like that. Obviously, it might take a little bit longer for him to reach his destination, which is MLS. But if that works out for him, you know, then be my guest in that regard. All I can say is, man, we would have loved to have. Imagine a back line of Manny Padilla, Connor Donovan, Kyle Adams, and Robert Coronado. Dude,
yeah,
that would have been an excellent back line.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to deal with Andrew Samuels and Sam Junqua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have been a totally different year than necessarily we have for just the players in general. And yeah, that's another thing that we can kind of touch up on as well, considering what Jerson has to face with. Yes, he still has those players coming back, aka Chuy Enriquez, Carlos Small, and all those players. I know that we've already touched up on this a bit, but now he kind of had to restart with that back line, considering that back line is fine. But apparently not according to Houston Dynamo. And so that's something else that you can also say has been on that mind. And, yeah, of course, this back line has been pretty solid throughout this season due to the fact that we kind of know that it's just the attackers that need to start actually attacking and putting away the goals that they put away in preseason. So once they do that, I think this team is fine.
Remember what Coach Echeverry talked about last season when we first talked to him live on the show. He said, I might have been a striker and I love scoring goals, but to him it's always been about having a good foundation in the back line. And so now with Connor Donovan's injury, with Manny Padilla leaving, Kai Green leaving, Sheldon Sullivan leaving, Omar Ontiveros leaving for LA Galaxy 2. Like you said, he had to start with a new back line. He had to find draft picks. He had to find another signing with Robert Coronado, with him trying out throughout the preseason. You know, so like they're not doing bad. They're doing decent. You know, but it could have been better have we maintained these guys like Manny and Omar and now with Robert Coronado. Like I said, it would have been an excellent back line. Now let's hope that we can have Connor Donovan back soon, and see what him and Kyle Adams, who them as a duo, as a partnership, did really well last season. They learned from their mistakes, and I think, because take a look at it. I mean, this year, have we really had those infamous last-minute goals like we did last year?
No. We haven't necessarily had those. There's been goals scored on us early, that's to say so the least. But then we've come back late and mainly scored goals on them, whether it's been 1 or 2 goals burned to, obviously, our rival up in El Paso, tying that game up, and Chuy Enriquez with the infamous picture of him shushing the crowd, that should be
trust me,
a big
Eighth Notch
poster.
is not gonna forget that. Like they're still like, man, I hate that guy. So kudos, Chewy, if you're listening. Kudos, man. Kudos. But here's another thing about that. You mentioned about early goals, and I think it's just about, for example, they come out a little bit like we talked about it last week. I feel like they come out a little bit fearful or not 100% confident in themselves in the beginning of the match. And by the time they realize that they're down 2-0 or 1-0, that's when they're like, oh, wait, I know how to do this. So I think once they get that mentality aspect and shrug it off, brush it off, and we saw it this week because we had people with experience. We had, like I said, we had Alejandro, we had Kevin Garcia, we had Juan David Cabezas in the middle. So these guys know what they're doing, and I sincerely hope that Juan David Cabezas and these guys talk to the young guys at RGV and say, hey, like, this is what we expect over there at the Houston Dynamo, and we need you. This is what we expect from you, and this is what you need to work on, kind of thing, because that's what they're there for. They're there to make a difference, and one of the biggest differences, hey, help them out, like give them a piece of advice, like how to. Or other things like that, and hopefully we will see some growth as we go on into the season. Now, I still wish we could have gotten a striker from Houston Dynamo. We could have gotten like Ronaldo Peña or something to help us out in that aspect, help out our strikers get back into their groove. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers. Daddy Dynamo does what Daddy Dynamo wants.
Yeah. And to be fair to Dynamo, they don't necessarily, like, that's one of the positions that is basically dear to them, and they don't have a lot of depth on in general. They've got a lot of depth on defenders, as we've seen, whether it would be guys trying to get back to 100% or, well, just players that haven't necessarily played because they've been beaten out almost week in and week out on, of course, the practice field. So... Yeah, that's something, of course, to say so the least. And that stinks because, of course, that's what RGVFC has necessarily needed. But, yeah, and we talk about this lineup from New Mexico United, and this is kind of a perfect segue considering Jerson decides to change up the formation and leaves for a lone striker as Chuy Enriquez. Now, before then, weeks before, we were talking about Jerson having the perfect strategy with a 3 attacking field, but of course that wasn't necessarily the case given what we had seen, especially from Carlos Small the week before that. So it's just a little bit of balancing it out, and so far I think that is the key, kind of leaving Chuy Enriquez with a lone striker.
Well, but see, I think on paper that's what it was, but I think in execution it was a 4-2-3-1, and even then I kind of think that it was a 4-1-4-1 kind of thing, because I saw Isidro Martinez be a lot more offensive than Juan David Cabezas. And Chuy, and to me, it was more along the lines of Michael Salazar as the lone striker, Malik Foster behind him. Then you had Chuy Enriquez, and I believe the other one was, it wasn't Kevin Rodriguez, or was it? In the lineup, on the starting 11.
Oh, starting 11, I mean, you got Samuel Fuenmayor, Garcia, Sam Junqua on that back line.
And then Juan David Cabezas.
And of course, you got Cabezas, Isidro Martinez, Malik Foster, and my bad, I've been reading this lineup wrong, but Chuy Enriquez was in the middle. He was not the lone striker. Then Nico Lemoyne with Michael Salazar. Yeah, Michael Salazar. So, yeah, Nico Lemoyne right there is your guy.
Yeah, so Nico Lemoyne was actually – and you saw many times where Nico and Chuy kind of switched sides as the wingers, trying to find some sort of surprise. I still think Camilo Monroy should have brought in a little bit sooner in the game. When I saw they brought in Kevin Rodriguez, I was like, wait, we need Camilo out there. But I mean, that's just our take on that. Coach knows more about what's happening down there. But I do want to mention, man, And that was another topic that I wanted to talk about. Do you think the pressure is getting to Coach Echeverri at this moment right now?
Well, I think the pressure is starting to get to Coach for sure. I mean, the interview that we had from kind of our take, he wasn't necessarily happy, but he wasn't necessarily upset. But I think, of course, he was more upset than happy at that time as well. And yeah, of course, he's starting to kind of hear this backlash from the fans, considering a couple from the Stampede. Yes, we hear you, Santos, and we understand your frustration and other people. And for sure, yes, I do see that the pressure is getting to him for sure, because if he doesn't succeed this year and kind of make this team, because last year was that rebuilding year, and this year, of course, he's got to succeed. And then I think the only difference is that he will stay next year, whether they make the playoffs or not. Mm-hmm. But that will be his hot seat year, where if he doesn't perform from that start, no matter what type of team he has, he's gone. So, yeah, I think the pressure is starting to get to him just a bit, but it's just because now this team, I think, is starting to really form together. And, of course, if they don't start to make some progress here, it will, of course, always jot back to looking worse for the coach than the players, because apparently that's what people think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're like what I saw from him out in the sidelines, like he was like mad at the players, he was very you saw in his body language, like he'd yell and he'd do a lot of arm motions and things like that, and just frustrated reactions to mistakes. And usually Coach Echeverri would be a little bit more, calmer. Like, obviously, like, he'd be disappointed at some of the things, but he'd be calmer. And it seems like now, like, he's a lot more like exasperated at what the players haven't done this season. Yeah. The bad decision making, the bad shots. It's all beating a dead horse. But I think it's I think we are seeing something like that where the pressure is getting to him.
Yeah, and it's not to mention that he sees things that we don't get to see in the practices. Yes, they have two practices, one being an open practice in midday and another one being a closed practice. So he sees things that the media and fans don't necessarily get to see from that. And, of course, he's probably seen those players finishing and defending really well. And now, of course, since he's seen that in practice, he's got higher expectations for them coming to game time, because, of course, he wants to see them win, and he wants to see basically that hot seat kind of go away from himself, considering, well, we had a great crowd that first opening game, and then, well, they booed him. Whether it would be the players or the refs or whatever, however you want to put that, there were boos from that stand. Of course, finally not this week, where they did tie and there were claps in that stand, thankfully. So, yeah, no, that pressure for sure is definitely getting to him, considering, well, you lost a lot of fans from one game, and coming up to the next week, your team played a lot better, and you're seeing things that not necessarily the fans and us aren't seeing.
Yeah, definitely. So I honestly just hope that we get back into winning ways, and I think that'll kind of calm down the waters at RGV. And I think we as fans deserve it, and I think the coach deserves, being calm and knowing that he's doing a good job, because he is. But the actual score lines don't really reflect the work that he's been putting in at coach. I mean, there's a huge difference between what's going on in RGV and then what's going on in San Antonio, where you can say with San Antonio's lack of points, it is on the coach, because he's, according to Harry, he has no idea what coach is doing. Like, he's putting players out of position, yada, yada, yada. There you can say, okay, this is Coach Powell's mistake. This is his fault. with Coach Echeverry, he's got the right plan, but it's just that players aren't executing it when they should. And so we got to give Coach Echeverry the benefit of the doubt. So, what time is it right now? So this Saturday, we are going to host Oklahoma City Energy, OKC Energy. What do you expect from that match, dude?
Well, I think I expect these players, and I think you are too, to be out of their shell. We kind of saw a glimpse of it this past Saturday. I really do think that this team can get out of their shell versus OKC Energy. Now, of course, you look at OKC Energy, and you can also say that that's a different team. That's probably the 2016 team that you're necessarily seeing instead of that 2017/18 side that wasn't necessarily too great for OKC Energy. So I think OKC Energy will bring something to the table that the Toros or anyone has necessarily seen, because I think OKC Energy can be a decent competitor in the West this year. So Toros will have to stay on their game, but I think they can definitely do it and get a solid result, as long as, of course, the number one thing is they get more shots on goals, they challenge the goalkeeper. I think their defense will do a fine job considering the circumstances. And, well, of course, they just have to learn from the first minute. They have to be on their game. They have to be on their toes. They cannot fall behind early. Yes, we haven't seen that since 2 weeks ago, basically, from, of course, when this game comes out this Saturday. It's kind of 2 weeks ago, 2 games ago, basically. And so, but that's been the kind of the talk of this season, is the Toros are giving up early goals instead of later goals, and you don't want to be playing from behind in general. Now, as long as they can keep that side level just like they did against New Mexico United, then it should be fine, and I think that they will be able to strike a goal. And of course, we did see this last year when they struck first, when they struck gold and got a goal, finally breaking that bad streak that they had for a while. They got way too excited and celebrated and let a goal go in moments later. So, of course, once they score that goal, yes, they can celebrate, but when those 90 minutes are up, that's when you freaking celebrate. That's when you say, hey, we freaking just did it. We just won. And they got to be focused. Once they score a goal, you can do a little fist pump in the air like they do and just be happy. But then you got to turn your mindset right around and say, we still got 30 more minutes to play, 48 more minutes to play some time, whatever. Because at any time the team can go right back and just make you back up into your own end and go corner after corner after corner and probably end up scoring. So,
well, I don't know. Like, I think OKC is dangerous. They've always been a very dangerous team. But I think what makes them even more dangerous this time is that they're coming in from a 3-game winless streak. They have so far, so they won in their first 2 matches. They defeated El Paso Locomotive 3-1. They defeated Las Vegas Lights 2-1. That one was at home. But then they lost 4-1 against Sacramento, tied 3-3 against Reno 1868, and lost 2-3 against Portland Timbers 2. So right here, you're seeing that this defense isn't really good. They've let in 11 goals. 11 goals in 12 goals in 5 matches. So this has to be an opportunity for our strikers to shake it off and start putting those shots into the net, honestly. And another opportunity as well for our defense to kind of step up, because Not only do they get scored on a lot, but they also score a lot. 5, 6, 8, 11. 11 goals in favor in 5 matches. So just like they score a lot, they get scored on a lot. So if the Toros can get everything settled down on the defense and on the attack, I have a feeling we can get the win out of there.
Yeah, for sure. 100% agree. Yeah, this OKC's always been a dangerous team. We've known that since 2016, sadly, of course. Luckily, the only thing that they can't gloat about is the man that always, and I mean always, decided, let me try and backflip or front flip a throw-in.
Oh, yeah, I know. Harris. I think he
Exactly.
retired.
Yeah, he retired, and also it's not legal in the USL or something like that, which I don't know how you can, as a ref, basically say, no, you can't do that, or they'll make them retake it or whatever. But yeah, of course, he's probably retiring, doing all the front flips he can possibly do at his age right now. So, but yeah, in all seriousness, I think, yeah, this team is going to be dangerous, but both teams haven't necessarily been able to win. So you think of it that way, it's going to be a hard-fought match from both ends. If some goals do get let up from the Toros, some goals better be scored on the other side as well. Now, I'd be fine with this, a draw, but both teams, of course, scoring goals. And I'd just be happy to see a goal go in, let alone something like that, as long as, of course, we come away with a point, which is not necessarily a good thing to hear from someone, but especially considering that this is a home game for the Toros. The Toros need a win, and they need to win badly.
Yes.
But how do you win a game? You score freaking goals. And they haven't been able to really prove that yet. And, yeah, I can understand Jerson's frustration from all this. But, hey, players that are watching, you can make his life a whole lot easier if you break through and score a goal this Saturday and even come out of there with a win. So, yeah, he's doing everything that he can for you all, putting in those formations, mixing them up. I mean, he legitimately benched and made Carlos Small, a player that's been on a slump, sit in the stands, not even technically on the bench or whatever. So, yeah, they just need that next step, and I think it's possible to do it against OKC Energy. And, of course, OKC Energy would come in there firing, and I don't believe that OKC or that the Toros have really been amazing against OKC Energy in just general, whether it's been on the road or at home. So that might be a problem.
So, looking at this roster, so there's a lot of interesting players in this roster. Obviously, one we all know since 2016, Cody, the dancing goalkeeper Llorente. You have Christian Ibiaga, which I'm pretty sure is going to raise some, make y'all remember about Ibiaga, which is Sebastian Ibiaga's brother. You have Drew Becky, which is Janine Becky's brother. You have Atiba Harris. And also you have Omar Gordon, ex-SAFC player, playing with Oklahoma City Energy. And I think I want to look at the person that we have to take a look at is actually Deshaun Brown. He is right now their leading scorer. He has 3 goals in 3 appearances, followed by Cordo Cato with 2 and Omar Gordon with 2 as well. So the defense is gonna have to pay attention to these guys, whoever starts in this match. what is your so you said your honest prediction, Jacob, for this match?
Honest prediction will have to be, I think the Toros will be able to get it done under every circumstance. They will be able to break through, and I say a 3-1 victory. And then, of course, my bold prediction, I'll go real quick for that too. And I'll say that because actually this could also become a regular prediction too. Things do get heated in this match where the ref doesn't necessarily call the game completely even. And so players will start to play a bit more recklessly, and that will become some problems. And a couple of red cards and yellow cards will be issued, and then it becomes a bit of an interesting fest where you still have you have more goals scored, 3-2, and I would take that to OKC.
I think my prediction is going to be 2-1 RGV. My bold prediction is we're going to do it without any Dynamo Lonies.
Yeah. I see at least maybe 1 or 2 Lonies coming down. Why I'd say that is just because, they don't necessarily have anything to do with the lineup that will be brought at, technically 1 p.m. on Saturday due to the fact that the Earthquakes game is at 2 p.m. for Houston Dynamo. So I still think that we'll see probably Tyler Derrick come down, and Kevin Garcia will stay in Houston, and we'll probably see Juan David Cabezas back, if I had to guess, unless they want to try and put him against the Earthquakes. So that will be interesting to see
From
if
what I heard,
he does not make the trip down.
From what I've heard, I don't remember who, but they spoke to Wilmer Cabrera about Cabezas, and he says that for the Dynamo medical staff, he seems to be 100%, even though Cabezas told us on Saturday that he was feeling at 70-80%. But it's more than likely that they might use him against San Jose, maybe on the bench, but that he will more than likely be called to the 18 against San Jose. So we might not see Juan David Cabezas with the Toros anymore. But honestly, I have a feeling that we might see Alejandro Fuenmayor again, or maybe Michael Nelson.
Yeah, I do agree on that note for sure. I do expect to see probably a goalkeeper brought down, whether it be Tyler Derrick or Michael Nelson, just like he said. I think it would be Michael Nelson due to the fact that Michael Nelson has had less starts than Tyler Derrick, and the fact that he's been brought down less. But of course, RGV didn't have that problem last year due to the fact, or Houston didn't have that problem last year due to the fact that he was still technically suspended and had all those court dates and stuff like that. So yeah, it just goes back to all of that. So yeah, I think we'll see, just like you said, now that you brought it up, Michael Nelson will probably be down. Or if Houston or if RGV are lucky, then they will take a break and let the Belgian star start.
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen. So Johnny says, Choklahoma, I hate that man bun wearing fool. And he says his prediction, 2-0 Toros. So, guys, I think this is we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this show for tonight. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this show. We hope you liked it, and if you guys haven't liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. Give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and be sure to be on the lookout for when the podcast version comes out on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, and of course you can always watch the YouTube video stream archive. Also be sure to follow us on our social media, facebook.com/DownInTheRGV, Twitter @DownInTheRGV, and @DITV Podcast _ES, and on Instagram @DownInTheRGV. Thank you guys for all of your support. We hope to see you all next Wednesday, and hopefully we can finally talk about a win for the Toros. Jacob, anything you want to add before we go?
I guess, real quick shout out to RGV Vipers real quick. Of course, yes, this is still a Valley podcast, I guess. And yeah, they're going to be playing for their, I guess, third title, yeah. I know that they've been in a couple of other finals before, but yeah, they'll be playing for their third title this upcoming Friday. So it will be on ESPNU live TV. You should tune in. It's going to be a sadder crowd for sure up in Long Island, but it should be fun when RGV clinches for that championship. And that's what it could be for the Toros. And any time that really those players decide to, just start scoring, basically.
Of course. And want to wish the Vipers the best of luck. They are our sister team. And hopefully they come back with the championship, with that trophy this weekend. So, it would be cool. It'd be cool if they do win it and they make it back, to have them showcase it in halftime at the Toros match.
Yes, that would be very, very exciting and actually smart from marketing. So marketing, if you're listening as well, if they do win, you should do that at a halftime of a Toros match for sure.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see each other next week. Take care.
Say you need a hero, someone to set you free. You say you need a hero, but don't put your faith in me. Don't put your faith in me.